like for Daniel, for example, stories need endings.
Yes.
Take some notes, Kubo.
Yes. Yeah. So you had seen this movie before. I hadn't. With Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yep. Which, yeah, I actually saw this in the theater back in the day.
Yeah. I remember seeing I think I remember seeing the commercials for it, and then I just kind of like didn't pay much mind to it because I'll be honest, like never really been one for stop motion. But I've kind of gained a certain appreciation for it with some of the other movies we've watched, like Corpse Bride, and was there another one we watched? I can't remember. We didn't watch.
Let's see here. Together we watched Corpse Bride.
Yeah.
Which is actually by the same studio as this, so you can see what 15 years of refinement of their style brought them.
Yes, indeed, and it's and I will say, watching this movie, I didn't feel like I was watching a stop motion.
No, okay. I should clarify. I don't believe that they were Leica Studios at the time of at the time of the Corpse Bride, but it was like the seed that studio became Leica.
Oh, okay.
As memory serves. But yeah, no, like so. Yeah, usually we don't talk about special effects before we get into the story, but
yeah,
holy crap, this thing is amazing. Like you know that there's some computer enhancement for some of it.
Yeah.
Like there are lots of magical effects. There are things like they have these origami birds flying around in a huge flock. You know that they had to do something CGI infused to make certain things work. But
yeah.
Holy crap. Like if you told me that this was a CGI movie, this would still be decent effects for an all CGI movie.
Yeah. It would be. Yeah. It's they're the effects are the animations just really mind blowing, and yeah, that was what stood out to me the most with this movie. The story's all right.
Right.
But yeah, I guess we should get to the plot of the movie.
At some point, yes.
Yeah. So so the movie centers on Kubo and his mother. We first meet them when she is on this little boat in the middle of a tsunami, and then they get washed ashore, and we see Kubo as a baby, and he's missing his left eye, and that's a kind of an important plot point. And then we flash forward. What do we say about like
12 years or so?
12 years. And Kubo and his mom are living in this cave on top of a mountain, and Kubo spends his days entertaining the people in this village with his magical shamisen, where he can make origami just from playing the music.
Right. That's one of the conceits of this movie is that his powers are he can play his stringed instrument and bring paper to life.
Yeah. And as DB pointed out, there was he tells this story of this samurai named Hanzo, and going up and he's battling this the Moon King, and he throws in all these little cool little parts of the story, but then unfortunately he never gets to the ending. Like he never ends the story.
And I think there's two reasons for that. The boring, pragmatic reason is that he embellishes his story too much. So sundown is coming, and because he is the grandson of the Moon King, his mother's one rule for him is you can never be outside under the moon.
Yeah.
The second reason is more that he doesn't know what the ending is because he just feels kind of alone and adrift. Whatever his mother went through, she is not all there.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, in the storm scene, she gets caught under the water and she hit her head on a rock, and so I guess it's implied that she suffered some sort of brain injury, and so
Mhm.
her memory is not all there. That's kind of almost like a form of dementia, I think.
That's how it seems to function.
Yeah,
Like it's very. This movie can hit you in the feels pretty hard, pretty regularly, because
yeah,
it's like she'll be in the middle of telling him a story, and then she'll just trace like, what about your father?
yeah,
Uh, or Kubo, what happened to your eye?
yeah. Yeah, 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 definitely hit you in the feels, especially if you've had family members who've dealt with that horrible disease.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so then one day during the festival, they have this thing where they light candles, or they pray to their deceased loved ones, and then it lights up the lantern, and then they put the lantern in the water to to let them go back to the spirits go back to the afterlife. And
Yep.
so
And
Coop
Kubo just can't resist participating this year.
right, and so he does that, and he's trying to talk to his father, but then nothing happens, and then unfortunately the sun goes down, and then the moon's out, and then that's when Kubo's evil ants show up.
Yep. And so he is forced to flee. His mother gives her life to save him, and he's now on a journey with a mixture of the creatures he made out of origami and it, like the little charms that his mother would play with him with.
Yeah,
Uh,
and yeah,
so we really have three main characters. We have Kubo himself, who, like, just kind of a standard kid adventure character.
yeah,
He was cute.
yeah,
You have Monkey, voiced by Charlize Theron, who also voiced his mother.
yeah,
Um, this, and then you have what's his name, Matthew McConaughey as the Beetle Knight
yeah,
or Beetle Samurai, who they meet, who he believes that he was the follower of, where he was like the disciple of his father Hanzo.
yeah. But his memory is just like not there anymore.
Nope. Now, what's interesting, in my opinion, about these dynamics is this is a 2016 movie,
Mhm.
and it feels like it hasn't even been 10 years, but it feels like this was made in a different world
Yeah,
almost, in the
yeah,
sense that um, you could kind of see the seeds of some of the issues we've talked about that some of the current Hollywood movies have,
yeah.
but it's like I think it's done all right here.
Mhm. Yeah, in particular, there's one line where McConaughey says something like, "Well, that happened."
Yeah, exactly. Like
Like,
McConaughey is definitely participating in a bunch of Marvel humor.
yeah, yeah,
Although this was before Marvel even got too deep into Marvel humor.
yeah. I think that's right. Yeah, or maybe around the same time. Yeah, um, yeah, and
Let's hear, what year did Guardians of the Galaxy come out?
oh, that was like 2014, I think.
Yep, 2014. Okay, so maybe that was part of the influence, because what I kept thinking watching this was that the interactions between Monkey and the samurai were so like Star-Lord and Gamora.
Yeah, yeah. Which is kind of an important. We'll get into spoiler talk later,
Yeah,
but yeah, there's a reason for that.
right. And but it's kind of funny to me how it's like if this movie had come out today and anybody bothered to review it, that people would be calling Monkey a girl boss.
Yeah,
Now, once
yeah,
you find out what Monkey's actual deal is, it makes some sense. But initially, it's like, okay, how is a macaque able to, like? Why is the macaque better at wielding the sword than the samurai beetle? and able to fight off these celestial space witches.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah, their overall quest is they have to get the pieces of the invincible armor in order for Kubo to be able to fight off his grandfather, the Moon King.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, the plot, it kind of has that. It has that video game plot, where they have to go through all these different trials.
Right. You have to collect the 3 things to level up enough to fight the Moon King.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like so she would be a girl boss, and Matthew McConaughey is honestly kind of playing Matthew McConaughey. Like,
he's always playing Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, Charlize Theron is having to act much harder.
Yeah.
She makes her various characters that she plays, and she plays a couple, feel distinct enough.
Yeah.
But coupled with honestly, just the animation of Kubo's mom, like just her face, like she is very expressive, considering that she is a bunch of like polystyrene and face motors and stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So pre-spoiler thoughts. If you like stop motion and you haven't seen this one, do yourself a favor. This is like god tier stop motion animation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It also scratches your weeb itch a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is based on any actual legend or if this is just people playing fast and loose with Japanese mythology, but it has the feel that I associate with that kind of story to it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and my guess is it's an original story because I've never heard of it before. And interesting note, the director of the movie was Travis Knight, and he directed Bumblebee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say this is at least moderate recommend. Like, okay, so Daniel was saying he's not the biggest fan of stop motion. For me, it's like, oh, there's stop motion in this movie that's good quality. You get an immediate 2 out of 10 adjustment for me.
Yeah.
If only because I kind of understand just how hard stop motion is to do.
Yeah.
So like I'm impressed enough by stuff like old school Harryhausen effects, like and how they can integrate that into old movies and what have you. This where you could have told me, oh no, actually Leica or Studio Leica switched over to entirely CGI for this movie and just emulated stop motion, I would have been disappointed, but I would have believed it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's seamless. Yeah, I mean there isn't a whole lot of the the lack of motion blur. There's actually a little bit of motion blur in there, which is
that's
pretty amazing. Yeah.
Now the unfortunate thing is this thing unfortunately was a bomb. So we probably aren't going to get much like it. The next movie that the studio made, which I haven't seen, seems to be much more of a simple comedy about finding a Sasquatch. So I guess they kind of shot for the moon here, so to speak, and didn't quite make it.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I mean, I would have. I mean, it would have been nice to see other movies like this, if
Yeah.
Just for if nothing else, for the sake of variety.
I think what it kind of comes down to, unfortunately, is the tendency of American audiences to see cartoon and think, oh, it's just something mindless I could put my kids in front of, where, a really small child, there's a lot of stuff that's upsetting in here.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
This isn't Minions 4 where it's not really going to challenge you at all.
Yeah.
It is about dead parents, about in dead parents in a meatier way than most movies.
Yeah.
Or kids movies, I should say. It's about mortality. It's about there's a lot of scary monsters.
Yeah. And the reason why Kubo is missing his left eye is very dark.
But it's also dark in a way that you might actually might just sail over the heads of small kids.
Yeah.
But You know what? Let's get into a brief spoiler section.
Yes.
So, since you just brought it up, let's cover why is his eye missing? What is his grandpa actually after?
Yeah. He's missing his eye because his grandfather took his eye, and he wants and he wants Kubo because he wants to take his other eye, and that is because he wants Kubo to be was it blind to humanity.
Right. Like if he loses both eyes, he'll be perfect and ageless and unchanging and able to join the celestial kingdom.
Right. Yeah. And we get the backstory of the fact that with Kubo's mother was part of this like celestial kingdom, and she was sent down by her father, Kubo's grandfather, to kill Hanzo, this
Right.
samurai, and but Hanzo's as the kids would say, Hanzo's riz was strong.
You are my quest.
You are my quest, and that was all she needed to hear.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you find out that, and you could kind of see this coming if you realized that Charlize Theron was voicing both Monkey and the mother.
Yeah.
The monkey is like, I don't know, like the monkey is almost like the mom's Horcrux, I guess is how you could put it.
Yeah.
Like a little piece of her that she's that like burns itself out trying to help Kubo with his quest.
Yeah. Or if you're a Star Trek fan, her Katra.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Which I mentioned before, why is this monkey able to be so girl bossy? Well, it's because she's literally one of the moon princesses and knows how her sisters fight. So it actually makes sense once you get down to it.
Yes. Yeah. And then you also find out that Beetle wasn't actually one of Hanzo's apprentices or one of his soldiers or fellow samurai. He is Hanzo.
Yep, just cursed to be a big dumb beetle man.
Yeah, and when we talked about it before, the interaction between Beetle and Monkey was kind of like Star-Lord and Gamora. Well,
right, semi-humorless girl boss with male himbo.
yes, and the reason that they're like flirting with each other in many scenes, well, then that makes sense now.
On some instinctive level, they recognize each other.
Yes, yeah.
Now, is it odd to see a long scene of a beetle and a snow macaque rizzing each other a little bit? Yes, it is slightly strange.
Yeah, yeah.
But it mostly works, especially once you find out what the actual heck is going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, so his Kubo's grandfather, he's a good villain. I kind of feel like the real problem, I think, that anytime you have a character who's defined to be emotionless, at least defined to be emotionless and unchanging,
Yeah,
it then becomes like, okay, is anger not an emotion in this?
yeah.
Because he does get angry. He can be possessive. So like I think that I think that you're better off defining it as a lack of compassion more than anything. But
Yeah.
that's a little bit of hair splitting.
Yeah. And
I will say the last fight scene with the grandfather is cool, although he violated one of the rules from the old evil overlords list that used to circulate around the internet. I will never turn into a dragon or large snake to beat the hero. It never helps.
Yeah.
In this case, what the grandpa turns into is based on an ancient sea creature called the Dunkleosteus.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let me pull up the picture here for the people at home. Let's see here. Now, of course, what's funny is that the Dunkleosteus probably didn't look quite this cool because real fish tend to have lips.
Mm. See, I'm glad you have knowledge and stuff like this, so that we can. It gives us more. more insight into like what maybe the creators or the filmmakers were thinking when they were coming up with this stuff.
Yeah, Dunkleosteus is like a all-time great creature design.
Oh yeah, wow.
Of course, they've recently decided that they weren't quite that big, like much shorter and blunter.
Yeah.
And they probably had lips covering up their cool mouths, but the similarity is noticeable.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's just like a Dunkleosteus combined with a centipede.
Yeah.
Or millipede if you prefer. But yeah.
But yeah.
So the movie ends. Kubo uses his magic. So basically, the magical artifacts he got to fight his grandfather didn't turn out to be all that useful.
Yeah.
The way he beats the grandpa is by giving him an eye and cursing him to be human, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably the one part of the movie that I didn't like was when the grandfather comes back, and of course he's a tabula rasa. He's just a blank slate.
Yep.
And everybody in the village is just kind of like, oh, you're a very kind man. You know,
I am.
yeah. I mean, you do. You know, they're telling him about all the stuff
Right.
that he does for him and everything, and then I guess it's implied that he and Kubo are, you know, like going to be like living together now, which is just like, okay. I know he doesn't have any memory, but it's like, okay.
He's still kind of the one who killed your whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would agree. The ending is a little bit weak, but
Yeah.
like again, this is like one of those. Story isn't necessarily its strongest point. It's good at emotional manipulation in a good way.
Yeah.
And it's good at it's pretty good at characterization, but it's worth watching just from a visual perspective.
Yeah. And speaking of the visual, and it just dawned on me the scene where they were getting the sword
Mhm.
and they're fighting the giant skeleton. That was
Yeah.
that was a marvel of filmmaking there. And of course, what got me is as soon as I saw that the giant skeleton, I'm like, wait a minute, that's the Human Reaper from Mass Effect 2. It looked just like it.
Well, the other thing I think it was supposed to invoke is this classic yokai picture.
Oh yes, yeah,
Although this one had a whole bunch of swords sticking out of its head.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that scene is definitely one of the highlights from just a technical perspective.
Yeah. But yeah, this one's on Netflix. At least I think it's still on Netflix.
Yeah, I think we managed to catch this one before it was being removed. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen this movie and you don't mind a animated movie and your kids or if you have kids and they're old enough to deal with some dark themes, give it a go.
Yeah,